Hola, amigos, and welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human, here at Finca Vida Verde. And my guest today is Teun Kapteijns. I think I got that name right. We just call him T. And he is a retreat and life transformation facilitator, currently living here with his family over just across the river in Tutubares. It's going to be a great conversation. We're going to be talking about retreats and medicine work. And so stick around. I hope you enjoy.
Teun.
Cassie.
Cassie. Teun.
Teun.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And I'm going to call you T for the rest of this episode, if that's all right. That's how we know you. That's T. T, I love having you in my community. And your family just brings me so much joy. Your son Onyx, every time he comes here, is like lit up with he's just so inspired. Like loves music. He's always excited to learn, and I can see how it's always a reflection of the parents. When the kid has that vibe. So good job, bro.
Thank you.
And that's a testament. So I guess because the idea of the podcast today we're going to talk about is retreats. You're a retreat facilitator.
Yeah, that's right.
Retreats and transformation in general.
Yeah.
And medicine work is part of that as well. So, okay. We'll start with tell us a little bit about I know that you're originally from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And you lived there. Tell us a little bit about your youth.
Yes, born and raised in the Netherlands, and I remember that as a kid. Well, I didn't have this lush jungle here in my backyard, but
what's it like there?
I had a big what you call it, like a tree nursery in my backyard, kinda
like Christmas trees.
All sort of trees, but mostly for exportation. Like the Netherlands is pretty big in that kind of things, like tree exportation, greenhouses, that kind of stuff.
Oh.
We're mainly flat, right? So it's really easy in the Netherlands to grow all those kind of things. We had that in our backyard. So from a little kid, I was always outside, always playing, making tree houses, doing naughty things.
Whoa, kind of naughty things.
I mean, we messed it up a little bit here and there. We made fires in a place that was not always the right spot to do that.
Right.
But we had good fun, and we were outside all the time, so that was great. Yeah, and then later on, I kind of walked the normal path, as in went to high school and then went to study. I always say, in the past life, I studied business economics because
it was a past life.
It was a past life. That's how it feels. It was a long time ago.
Well, but as a fellow retreat facilitator, I can say having that business and economics background is kind of helpful.
It's nice. I always say and I'm partly joking there, but I'm always saying it's nice that I can at least send my own invoices, that I know how to do that, that I can make a budget for my retreats. So that it's nice to have that skill, definitely. Mm-hmm. But it was coming back then from a place of okay, I have the brains, I'm kind of okay-ish with math and statistics, economics, let's just do that, and let's just follow the path that people had in mind for me. And that's maybe also interesting, because while I'm saying this, that's I guess where the seed was planted already to work with people, because it was also a struggle for me back then. I was just doing something that I didn't really like.
Right.
I didn't get energy from it. It wasn't my passion. And so, yeah, it took me also 7 years, for example, to get through college, which is quite long. Should be done in 4 years normally.
It took you 7 years.
It took me 7 years.
For a 4-year degree.
For a 4-year degree, yeah. So, just an extra.
Everybody's got to go on their own path,
True. Which results in the fact that I'm turning 40 next year, and I'm still paying off debt from my time in college.
Wow,
so that's just.
So there's not free university and.
No. No. you have to pay for it. Yeah,
Mhm.
or at least have to pay back for it, and you can get certain loans and
That's so
stuff.
crazy
And
to me that we're like this generation is we're all like,
I mean, yeah,
how
and
can we get ahead when we're still paying off the past? It's like,
exactly. And then mostly, I mean, I got over that. Luckily, I mean, I'm old enough to be over that part, but it took me also quite a few years to accept, like, okay, now I have now I'm in debt with the government if it
mm,
comes to my study. I have to pay that off, and I don't really feel that I benefit that much from it. So,
hmm.
but anyway, I do believe in the end we all walk our path
Do you
for a
think it all
reason.
happens for a reason? Yeah, that's what I
Of
was gonna say.
course, yeah. I don't believe in coincidence, or I don't believe in those kind of things. It has to happen that way, with all the darkness and the yeah the less brighten parts.
Okay, yeah, and well, it led you to here somehow, some twisty, windy path, right? So
Yes.
I don't think we're
Yeah.
doing so bad over here.
No, no, and also still here. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but we also still just try to figure it out here, right? It's not like, I mean, I always really am a strong believer that wherever you go in the world, wherever you settle, you bring everything there, your beauty and your demons and everything. So you can maybe start over in a new environment. You can start again, but it's all about the inner work and the inner feelings, the inner
Hmm.
processes that turn out like how you thrive or not thrive in a certain place.
Yeah, I mean, we changed the situation, but yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
The problems, it's not about this problem or dealing with that problem. It's an approach to the problem, how you
exactly.
approach things, I guess. Um, and then so what about meeting? How'd you meet Amy?
That's a cool story. That's also not a coincidence. That's what, like, maybe one of my biggest experiences in life where I felt, okay, that's just not coincidence, and I'm going to try to keep it short. We have a mutual friend. His name is Koen, and
Koen and Toon,
Koen and Teun. Yeah.
down,
Koen and Teun.
going down.
A mutual friend, and he this must have been like around 10 years ago now. He came out of the jungle in Peru from an ayahuasca journey, multiple day ayahuasca journey. He came out of the jungle. He was in the airport, and Amy was on her way. Amy, my partner, was on her way to Peru, to the jungle, to an ayahuasca ceremony. And
Hmm.
they like really randomly cross paths on a random airport in Peru.
Hmm.
They they got to know each other. They sent like contact information, and that's how they kept in touch. And then, like a couple of years after, I had planned to go on a ski trip to British Columbia, to Canada, and I was running with him in Amsterdam in the Vondel Park. It's a really popular park in Amsterdam. I was
It's
running.
a ski park or what?
I know it's just
Park.
a man-made park.
Okay.
Yeah,
A
but it's
Wonder Park.
Vondel Park.
A
It's
Wonder Park.
just learning you some Dutch words
I
here.
love the Dutch language.
It's so weird, the Dutch language. Anyway, we were going for a run, and he was asking me like, "Hey, how is it going with that ski trip that you're planning?" I was like, "Well, pretty good, but I still need like an address in Vancouver because I'm flying to Vancouver.
Hmm.
I need like a couch surfing address or an Airbnb or whatsoever."
What
And
did
he
you call it? An
like
address?
a couch
No, what
surfing
was the first thing you said?
Airbnb.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Did I say something
What did
weird?
you
Oh,
say?
I need an address. I need an address.
Address.
Address. Sorry.
Got it. Okay. I was like, what? Okay.
I
You
need an
need an
address
address. You
to
need a place
stay,
to go.
a place
Got
to
it. Got
stay,
it.
and from there I will be fine. I will sort things out, and
Okay.
I also wanted to be like a bit adventurous and not planning like too much. So that's how it went, because he said like, oh, I know someone in Vancouver, and well, if I connect you guys, then she will receive you arms wide open, and you can stay there for a couple days. And that was Amy, and back then we still connected via Facebook, and then you had to get like a friend request from the
Uh-huh.
other person. So he introduced us, and that's how we met online. And then, like, I don't know, a month, 2 months later, we met on the airport
Mm.
of Vancouver.
And how long ago is this?
This was December 2016.
Okay.
And then I was supposed to go skiing after 2 or 3 days. That turned out a little different.
You didn't go skiing.
I did go skiing, but after 2 weeks instead of after 2 or 3 days. So
Okay. With her.
no, she
No,
didn't.
she didn't
No,
come.
no, she's like a fake Canadian. So she she doesn't really ski or snowboard. And
I'm
she
from upstate New York, and I don't do either of those things either. So,
I
we're
just
not
always call her
all.
fake Canadian, but that's mostly because she can't stand the cold.
Yeah, man, we're not all made for that stuff. You
Nope.
know, like I mean, what's her blood? You know, like where's her blood? Do you know what it is?
I don't know those names, but she's definitely the ones that doesn't have the fire in her system, so to
No,
say.
I
So
meant like yeah. Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like
the Ayurveda
yeah,
ones,
no,
like
I'm talking
the
about
Tibetan.
like genetic history, like
Oh, that's even more funny because she has
she's Dutch.
Icelandic heritage.
Oh,
Her last name is Sigfusson,
oh, wow, really?
which comes from the son of Sigfus. So
What?
she has like 3 or 4 generations before her is just Icelandic. That
Okay.
makes the story even more funny, I guess.
Wow. Well, it just makes it, it's definitely interesting how we just find our own place. Like I have the same thing. Like I didn't
Mhm.
want to be in the cold. The first time I spent a winter out of the cold, like first, I remember being 16 and like we were marching in a parade in Los Angeles, and I was like, it's 80 degrees on New Year's Eve. I didn't even know it existed. I mean, I
Yeah.
kind of had heard about this possibility that there's places where it's not freaking cold,
Yeah.
but like experiencing it for me so I can relate.
Yeah, no,
That's all
100%.
I'm
She
saying.
she always told me from the very beginning that she wanted to go to Costa Rica,
Mm.
and that she's more of like a jungle gal than a Canadian one. So I'm kind
Oh.
of like make jokes about it, and there is some truth in it, I
And
guess.
so you were like from the beginning were you like, yeah, I'm into that.
No, hell no.
No.
No, because I was kind of like I wouldn't say like stuck in the Netherlands because that sounds negative, but I really was having a good time there. I liked and I do like the country. I was established there. I had my work there, my friends, my family, my whole social environment was there. So I didn't feel that big of an urge to leave.
Mm.
But Amy did, and of course, well, she took the leap first from Canada to the Netherlands. So it's not that black and white that I felt like, okay, I owe you one and I need to go now with you. But there was
Mhm.
circumstances that made us took a leap, and there was a certain necessity to do a radical change or to create a radical change. And yeah, Costa Rica was pulling her in already for like 10 years.
Mm.
We've been together as a family when Onyx was just 10 months old. We came to Costa Rica for the first time with the three of us. So it was like it made sense, and at the same time, yeah, of
Mm.
course, it's for everyone a huge step to take the leap and to leave
Yeah.
everything behind.
Yeah, it really is. It is.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm so amazed at all the people here. It's like there's just a brave,
I mean,
That's everyone here is pretty brave to like
a lot
leave
of
their home, leave their family, leave their
yeah,
culture and like come try a new,
yeah.
you know.
There's a lot of course, people that think like, wow, they only see the bright side of it, the happy family that leaves their country and goes
Right.
on an adventure, and it's also that, but it's not only that. It's like it's for me the first. We've been here now a little over a year in Costa Rica, and it has also been a year of like grief and sadness and like struggling and falling on the ground and
Mm.
getting up again, and it's not only easy.
Hmm.
So I think that's yeah a topic that a lot of people that live here can relate to.
Right. And you neither of you, I mean, I don't know. You don't work online. You don't have like a
Tiny bit, but
little
barely.
bit.
Yeah, I do a little bit. You introduced me, and I do a little bit of online coaching as well.
Okay, online coaching.
But I mean, I always said like I didn't come to the jungle to work here 4 or 5 days on my laptop.
Right. So
But there is a little bit of that I'm doing as well. Yeah.
so how did you get into what inspired you to get into retreat facilitation? Because that's really your main
At the moment, I would say
passion.
it's one of my main passions. Yeah, when I back in the Netherlands, I also worked for like almost a decade with teenagers and young adults.
Uh-huh.
Maybe nice to say a little bit about that as well. That was
Definitely.
definitely also my passion, and that was actually originated in the fact that I had my own youth, so to say, going to college, didn't really know what I was doing, just choosing like a subject.
Mm.
I was kind of lost when I was 15, 16, 17. My parents divorced at that age as well. So I was kind of lost. And well, like 15, 20 years later, I got an opportunity to work with that specific target group.
With
So
kids or teen young
yeah, like
adults.
let's say 15, 16 to
Sure.
like mid 20s, so to
Right.
say. Yeah. And I worked for a conscious gap year program in the Netherlands, like a really epic program. A lot of people that listen to your podcast know Casa Sula, for example, right? The
Hmm.
school here.
Casa Sul is the local alternative school. They actually call it. It's an unschool. So.
Yeah, a non-directive
Mhm.
school, unschooling system. And I always say, to explain it easy, like, yeah, that's what I did, but then for just a little older
Oh,
kids.
help
And
them facilitate their passions.
kinda, and to reconnect to their true nature, and to remember, like, oh, what is my passion, what is my purpose,
Mm,
what are my talents,
mm,
because they're so, yeah, getting away from that in the traditional school system.
mm,
It's just completely pulling you away from those things, so you
mm.
kind of have to reconnect them. And luckily there are places, right, like Casa Sula, and other, like Waldorf, Steiner,
Right,
and inspired
right.
schools. But the
Brilliant.
majority, me including, went to and through it, like,
With no
with
guidance.
no, not at all. And I didn't learn any. I was like super insecure. I didn't, like this, for example. I would like never ever done that when I was
You
like
were
20.
shy.
Super shy, super insecure. I didn't develop any social skills, and now I'm standing for groups and I like it, and now I'm in your podcast and I like it. But that whoa, that was a
The
hell of a
world
transformation.
is watching.
Exactly. Exactly, but that yeah, phew, that was an interesting journey. And so to take the step towards the retreats, um, at one point I just felt like the power of working in groups, and I have experienced that, for example, also in the gap year program with the teenagers, because then you're also in groups always.
Mm.
It's just so powerful to connect with other like-minded people and to go on a journey together. Yeah, that's really really amazing.
So
And
it was a group facilitation.
yeah, I also did one-on-one, like private retreats,
Mm-hmm.
but I like the groups the
Mm-hmm.
most. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So it was working with the youth and seeing the transformation that was happening.
yeah.
And so when then how did that transition into like your
Yeah, I mean,
current
there were like
incarnation?
there were like a couple things coming by along the road. There was one funny thing. I was working for that gap year program,
Mm-hmm.
and at one point, also those teenagers, young adults, they got to know, like, that I was doing retreats. And back then, I started with a group of friends doing man retreats. For example, we did
Mm.
like 3 4 times a year. We hosted a man retreat.
What do you do at man retreats?
What do you do at man retreats? Well, basically not that much different than in other retreats, but the power of being only with man is just like, it's, yeah, it's also like one of a kind. And yeah, there has been always like a lot, like, for women, right? For women was like less weird to come together with only women.
Right.
The circles and stuff that was already existing for a longer time, but we were a little behind as men. And I think it also, like, takes a huge leap, which is really great. And yeah, what I always experience with working with men only is just like, and I also notice it in myself, like, there is those little tiny imprints and behaviors that are like really subtle in us, but they all vanish all of a sudden. So we don't have to impress women anymore. We don't have to be the cool guys making cool jokes. We don't have to look good. We don't have to be strong. We don't have to be whatever, And all of a sudden, we can let go of all that.
Let that beer belly
Yeah, the
out.
beer
Stick
belly.
that hand down your pants.
And but also just we could just can be like vulnerable amongst other men, and we can just
Sure.
be real, and we
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have to hold up.
I'm making jokes right now to impress the women. All right, you
Exactly, exactly,
understand how this
exactly.
works.
You probably have like a huge following, which is mainly women.
Yeah, mostly
Yeah, I can
mostly
imagine.
women 25 to
To 30.
45, it's huge.
Yes,
Huge
huge
following.
following.
Huge following. No,
So
I love
yeah,
we have a pretty freaking diverse audience. I love it.
that's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's good. So
yeah.
men's I really honor that kind of work
Hmm.
because honestly, I've done a few men's circles, but never like a full men's retreat, and I think it would be really a
Yeah,
beneficial experience.
it is.
Um, yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Mm.
I believe that like conscious men don't have a we're just not I don't know. I don't know about you. I know that for me, like my father was kind of in his own world
Mm.
doing work and his own passions, wasn't super present. And so to have the kind of I never really feel like I had a big strong bond with whoops, sorry. with a lot of men, and I don't have any brothers, so I
Mm.
was raised by my mom for the most part, and I had a sister that I'd play toys with and stuff,
Yeah.
so yeah, it'd be cool to like have that experience.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think the majority of us, man, didn't get the best examples. And I do need to say also, because that's very important, I learned from that in the past, that of course generations before and above us did their very best they could. So it's not so much about like they did wrong or we have to judge them for what they lack.
No, of course not.
But it's yeah, we didn't get the tools that we need like nowadays in our lives. Like how can you be in a relationship with a partner if you never have had to learn or never learned how to be with your own emotions?
Mm.
That's super difficult, and that's also why a lot of relationships collapse, right? Because at one point, if the man in this case don't know how to handle with their own inner world and they all gonna keep it like inside,
Mhm.
there's no connection with the partner on that specific topic
For sure.
or those specific topics, and then at one point like either the man explodes or he goes seeking elsewhere, or women goes away or whatsoever. Like there's always like conflict, and then yeah, that if you can't resolve conflict, that's a huge problem.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we're living in a time right now. It's funny because you're saying this, and I'm thinking like Israel and Hamas
Oh
just
yeah.
like popped into my brain. I mean,
Mm.
anyone who's like living in the world right now is probably like this is somewhere in their consciousness, even if they don't want it to be. And I was thinking about that kind of this men's work and this kind of learning how to communicate and like learning how to tap into your emotions and how if we all had that experience, how the
Yeah.
world might be different.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah,
And
there's a huge potential, but it also comes. It goes two directions. So, for example, you were mentioning like one of the unfortunately many examples that we have nowadays of conflicts
Mhm.
and war in the world. But also like every human being, or let's say we were talking about men, but I would say every human being, every man has to also like acknowledge their own Hitler inside of them, right? Because we're not like better, or we're not like further, or we're not like more developed. We only have more consciousness and we have more awareness, but that doesn't mean that those dark parts are not existing in us
Mm.
anymore, right? So there's a Hitler in everyone, and there's also a lot of beauty in everyone. And if we neglect that, and if we say like, no, 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 there's no Hitler in me, I'm like better than that,
Mhm.
that's also part of the problem.
Sure. Acknowledging the fact that like you're a human and humans do hold these like
Exactly.
the human we have this huge scope of possibility and it's all really a choice in the end like
Yeah.
right like
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah. No, 100%. It's a choice, and it's not always easy to make that choice and to follow that choice, because of course there's also still a lot of people that suffer. And it's for me it's sometimes too easy to say like, yeah, pain is inevitable and suffering is a choice. I kind of agree with that, but it's not, that doesn't say that it's easy to give up suffering, right?
Mm.
Because as human beings we have sometimes a tendency to just go into that victim state and
Sure.
to feel all the heaviness of life. And of course a lot of people have experienced extreme things in their lives where they were a victim. So yeah, it is tough.
Yeah, this is a funny topic because like I had somebody reflect to me, their perspective of me is saying that, that they noticed that I had some victim stories, and I was just like, yeah, but like these things happened.
Hmm.
So constantly trying to like deal with that. Like, ha- I mean, yeah, there's one thing about not, obviously if we focus our energy on that, I don't think like there's like this overarching like energy compressing me, but
Hmm.
like you said, we all have shit that's happened to us, and
Absolutely.
some of us more intense than others.
Yes.
So how can we acknowledge that, and not let it, I don't know. It was really interesting. I'm like,
Mm.
really? You think it control? You think it like leads me? Because I don't feel that way.
Mm.
But this was like a reflection
Yeah.
of a former partner, so
Hmm.
to speak.
A former
A
partner.
former partner won't
I mean,
say
won't
names.
say names. Okay, I won't ask. I mean,
But it was a good. It was interesting. It's worth.
yeah,
I mean, because I'm not. I want to hear these things. I
of
want to take
course,
these
yeah.
things in. So
Well, yeah. If anything, I also know you as a guy that's just super open to that feedback. So that's where it starts. Like if you're like, no, 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 that's bullshit, right? No, 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 that's your projection. No, no,
yeah,
no, no, that's all like nonsense. Then you miss a possible opportunity for growth.
right,
And it doesn't say that that person is right, because maybe it is bullshit, maybe it is just their own projection, but maybe there could be some truth in it, and
sure,
then it's worth looking at it.
sure,
And yeah, I believe that it's noticeable when you are mainly led from like a victimship kind of place, because then it's really hard, for example, to thrive in your life. It's really hard to manifest. It's
right,
really hard to create. It's really hard to be happy. It's really hard to have purpose. And if you have all of that, then it's also less likely that you're led by the traumatic events that you have been through
mhm.
earlier in your life. So yeah, I think there is truth in it, but it's just, and that's why, for example, retreats can be really beneficial, because then you have a moment for yourself to stand still, to look into your inner world, to see what's going on, to see if there's any like patterns in your life that are not really functioning anymore, or not really helping you or supporting you anymore, so you can grow.
Right, and in the group experience, it's like being in community. Community is constantly
Of
reflecting
course.
things and offering you new perspectives, and
Yeah.
yeah. So what kind
If
of retreats? Yeah,
yeah.
go. Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
yeah, one thing, like, because if anything, right, like, I believe that especially in the last 5 to 10 years, we as human beings have created even like a more deep need or an urgency of belonging, right? We want to belong, and we want to feel safe. But if we try to walk our way through life as an individual, we also have that little man on our shoulder that constantly says like, yeah, but it's only your problem. You're the only one that suffers from this, or you're the only one that has this negative belief. And then when you come together in a group, in community, all of a sudden, and it happens every single time, people are like, ah, I'm not the only one,
Right.
right? I thought I was like completely lunatic, but I'm not. I'm just a human being, and I can relate to other people that experience the same
Yeah.
kind of struggles as me, and that gives a huge motivation to work further from there.
Hmm. Definitely. No, I've had recently. It's funny because of the Israel thing. I reached out to a friend in Israel. I was like, how, just checking in,
Mm.
an old friend, and we got to talking. We're both similar age, and it's like I'm not surrounded by a lot of people my age, but
Mhm.
if you talk to people your age, oftentimes they're going through very similar things,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
existentially.
yeah,
Maybe not individual, like, okay, you have a wife and a child, your problems are going to be a little different than mine, but it's funny how even just being from the same generation and
yeah,
having the same perspective of having grown up in the same world and having watched the world transition in the same way,
yeah,
growing up with the same music, all those
yeah,
things,
yeah,
we
yeah.
really do like um
It's
kind of mirror each.
yeah,
There's
true.
something interesting going on.
It's easier to relate to each other, and it's easier to mirror. And there's I recently listened to a podcast from another guy, and like, it's a pretty famous whoa, how do you say that word?
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. From the Netherlands. And he speaks about this topic, and he even says like, yeah, if you, for example, think you're very good in relationships, and that's really something that you're good at, you're still like, you are together with your first love of your life from your early 20s, you're like 20 years married, and then you think you should become a relationship therapist. And he said that's nonsense, because you know who is a good relationship therapist? The one who has been divorced 4 times, right? Because they have been going through the pain and through the struggles, and they
Mhm.
can say like, "Hey, I don't know shit about relationships because I suck at them, but at least I know, I can tell you from my experience and from my
Right.
pain how it is to deal with that and how to move on, because I'm still here and I divorced 4 times, for example. So that's really interesting, and I really I believe in that.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about having a new career as a relationship counselor.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just. um,
You
um,
might be pretty good at it.
I mean, I could tell you what not to do. No,
Yeah.
no, no. I feel pretty like in balance with that. Sorry, I
Mhm.
feel pretty in balance
Mhm.
with that whole world. I want to
Yeah.
talk more about your retreats though. So
Yes.
you host what kind of retreats? Like, do they include like medicine retreats or?
Yeah. It's for me. It's it has been like taken a couple years before I found like some kind of like ideal template. Even though I don't like the word template for a retreat, but like let's say a combination of certain elements that really works for me.
Right.
Which is the sweat lodge is always a
I love sweat
yeah,
lodges.
it's an amazing ritual. There's always breath work included. Amy is a breathwork
Oh,
practitioner.
really?
She does the breath work in most of my retreats.
Like holotropic breath work? Like,
She's officially like trained in clarity breath work, and that's just one of the many
types of.
types. Just a form of circular breathing, and that's helping to definitely like dive deep into the inner body.
It's like slower, or it's like
It is
more
a
like.
little bit slower. Yeah, no, it's slower. It's
Okay.
slower,
Okay.
but it is intense and it is deep, and it goes for like 45 minutes to an hour. So it's a long breathwork session. So breathwork, main part of it. We always use some kind of plant medicine, mostly psilocybin.
Oh.
That's my favorite.
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms, yes. And then in the Netherlands, we were lucky, right? Because the part of the mushroom that grows underground, the truffle, is legal in the Netherlands.
Oh.
So you can also actively promote with it. Here it's also kind of okay. In Costa Rica, they also don't really care that
Yeah.
much. But that was like, yeah, that was relatively like in our advantage, of course, because yeah, if you do, for example, ayahuasca in the Netherlands, you have to be a bit cautious,
Mm.
which is stupid, of course. But on the other hand, yeah, that's what it is.
And
So
so, do you lead the ceremonies, or do you bring in other practitioners? How does it
it
usually work?
depends. Like the psilocybin, I lead myself. I feel like since a couple years, like confident enough that I can do that. The sweat lodge for me is as of now is too sacred to lead that. So I've been assisting as a firekeeper quite some times.
Hmm.
So then you're busy with the stones, you're bringing them in, and you make sure the fire
What
keeps burning.
what tradition of sweat lodge? Like who?
Lakota, I have done Lakota quite a few times, and also here in Costa Rica, it's more like a mix. I don't even know the exact name to be honest, but they use like something from Lakota and some from like other.
Yeah, it's like pan indigenous. Like here they call it temescal.
Yeah,
But it's the same.
I mean,
It's similar. It's
it's
actually
similar.
not. I find the Lakota sweats to be powerful, like
Hmm.
intense.
Yeah,
I like a good sweat.
yeah,
But then like I've done, yeah, it's funny how some cultures have like,
yeah.
you're like, is it,
Yeah.
like I
It's
was getting ready for some intense sweat.
yeah, yeah. And then sometimes you think like, okay, now I've get it because I've done like a couple sweat lodges with these guys, and then you go into another one, and it's like, whoa! All of a
Oh, they're
sudden, it's
all
like a different
different.
structure, different rules, different
Totally.
setup. And normally, like this is a little bit maybe black and white speaking here, but like Lakota is very structured, so it's very like
Yeah.
according a set of
Yep.
rules, 4 rounds,
Language,
songs.
the whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should shut your mouth, and the guy who's leading is the only one talking,
Right.
and they pour normally the water really fast, and it gets really hot. Like
Yes.
I mean, it gets hot in every sweat lodge, but it gets hot really fast. So that's
Yes.
so yeah, we do that sweat lodge, breath work, plant medicine, and then I also use some supportive plants from the jungle. So rapé, for example, the tobacco that you can.
Yep.
No, it's not really sniff in your nose, but they
Yeah.
blow it
Yeah.
into your nose. Then you have ambil and the mambe is a tobacco pasta,
With
and
Mambe's coca.
the coca leaves. So all supportive plans that really can help throughout the retreat or in certain ceremonies yeah, to help and to support you, because there's like so much wisdom in those plans, right?
And so is it a lot of like stationary, or do you go out and do events, or like do you bring people in? Like what's, I mean, is the medicine like doing the medicine like it's like you're sitting with yourself doing medicine, or
I mean, that's an interesting topic that you share here, because I do believe that the plants in general, or all ceremonies that we do, have already all the wisdom in themselves. So I just need to be there. I need to ground myself, and therefore the field that we're in. I need to make sure that there's a sacred, safe space, and then the ceremony does the work.
mm-hmm.
But I do also feel, and I have also experienced throughout the last 5, 6, 7 years, that there is a lot of people that have a lot of limiting beliefs and imprints that are not always very helpful during ceremony.
Mm.
So, to give one example, um, you can let somebody travel in a plant medicine journey like fully by themselves, but sometimes I use my intuition and I go to that person because I feel they need something. And 9 out of 10 afterwards, they say to me, they give back like, oh yeah, I'm so happy that you came, because I didn't dare to ask for help, right? So those imprints are so like strong in ourselves that even with a plant medicine, sometimes people really need something, even if it's just like, can you come sit next to me and hold my hand for like a couple minutes, right? Just to be there as an anchor next to them. But they don't feel like they can ask for that, and so they
Right.
don't.
So you're helping guide a little bit when
A
you
little,
when you
as
you you're
minimal as
reading the
possible,
room
but
to
yes,
know. Yeah.
exactly. You try to read the room, and you try to not like. There's of course a big wound in all us coaches, trainers, therapists, is that we want to help, right? So you have to really try to focus. Like, hey, am I doing this for my own
This is my
ego,
place.
or is it 100% for that other person?
Right.
Which is always like clear, but you have to tap into that, and then you can sometimes be really helpful for someone.
And I think just to clarify, my question was actually what I initially intended, and that's helpful actually to hear that because
Uh-huh.
it's a good point. Was like, do you go out and like, for instance, go to waterfalls or go on like group like excursions, or is it
um
mostly like your retreats are very like
yes.
container driven,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
we're in a space,
I
we held a container,
yeah.
and we're in.
Yes, that's what I prefer. And at the same time, here in Costa Rica, for example, the upcoming retreat that we're doing is on a piece of land of like 30 hectares.
Mhm.
So if people want to go for a stroll and want to go hug a tree somewhere, or dive into
Mhm.
a pond, be my guest.
So
But
there's ponds on the land.
there's a pond, like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, a pond and a little creek. But in general, there's something really powerful of keeping the container and the group together. So for example, in ceremony, or when we use a certain plant medicine, it's not like, okay, you can just take off and go for a stroll in the jungle. No, we want to keep
Sure.
you together with the group.
Well, yeah, because and I guess I was, that helps to for me to clarify. Like, okay, what kind of retreat? Because obviously there's,
Tons.
various kinds. Yours
Yeah,
is a very specific transformational driven. It's
yeah.
designed for like doing
Doing the inner
transformational
work,
work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also, yeah, based in that way that we do like everything is like a ceremony. So it's not only, for example, the sweat lodge or the plant medicine, but the ice bath that we're doing is also ceremony.
Sure.
The breath work that we're doing is
Sure.
also ceremony. The very first opening circle in which everyone shares is also ceremony. So we really approach everything as a ritual or a ceremony. That's really unique, I think. And what is also very important for me is that the retreat is not only the 3 or the 4 or the 7 days on the location. There's also preparation and there is integration. So
Mhm.
you cannot like put someone through a pretty intense, deep journey and then say, "Oh, goodbye.
Sure.
See you next year on my
Right.
next retreat," for example. So there is aftercare. So it's really, you go through a process from like in personal intake, um, a questionnaire that you have to answer. You go through the retreat, and then after there's care as well. There's like integration sessions and everything. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
So we're about out of time. So just give
yeah.
us a quick. You have a retreat coming up.
Yes, yeah. There's a retreat coming up in January. It's called Revival 2024 to awaken and remember your true nature. Amy, I have to give credits to Amy. She's really good in coming up with those titles. And yeah, it's at Lumira. It's a really beautiful retreat center close to Turrialba here in Costa Rica.
Turrialba.
Turrialba,
Okay.
yeah, in that area.
That's in like the
area.
middle of Cartago area.
Kinda, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's beautiful mountain area. Yeah, so that's where we gonna do exactly, or we're gonna have exactly those elements that we're just talking
And
about.
Amy co-facilitates.
Amy co-facilitates.
And it's male
Yes.
and female.
Male, female, yeah, or all genders. We have to say.
All genders, all ages.
18 plus though.
18
That's
over.
mainly because we do
Got
the
it.
medicine
Sure,
work.
sure.
So yeah.
Sure. And my last question is, why aren't you doing it here at Finca Vida Verde?
That's a very good question. I was just thinking about the joke that I ran out of hammocks because people need to sleep somewhere.
Yeah, we're
You're working on it,
We're
right?
still working on finding the right investors to build all the indoor spaces that we need to be able to host these kinds of retreats and events. That could be you. Contact me.
Nice. But no, yeah, I mean, eventually, I love that. Why would you search like elsewhere if you have it like really close in your community,
Well,
right?
that's why I want to have this space
course.
here, because
Yeah.
there is so many people just like you, and like, yeah, they're all going out to like other places. When we live here, why would not be
Exactly.
close to home?
Exactly.
And we have the river, and it's magical. And
Yeah.
anyway,
Future dreams.
and so if people want to sign up for your retreat, where
Yeah.
can they go to the link in our?
Yeah, you can put a link. They can.
I'll put a link in the description of the video,
They can follow a revival. They can follow Radical Transformation or my own private account, What Travel Brings.
and this is on Instagram.
all Instagram.
Say it again.
Revival 2024,
Okay.
Radical Transformation, or my personal one, What Travel Brings.
What travel brings.
Yes,
And that's what this is.
that's what this is about. Yeah,
So why should we fear what travel brings?
exactly. Then the circle is round, right?
Okay, well, Teun
T.
Kapteijns.
Kapteijns.
Teun Kapteijns. It's been a great honor, my brother. Thank
Thank you.
you for being here and for the
Very
work you
welcome.
do. I'm Matthew Human. This is La Vida Verde podcast. We release episodes every Tuesday. You can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcast. We are on Facebook at Finca Vida Verde. We are on Instagram at Finca Vida Verde CR. And if you like these podcasts, and I get a lot of great messages from people are really loving these, and I'm so honored and happy. And if you want to support us, we have a Patreon that helps us offset the cost. Patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode. Thank you so much for watching. Till the next time. Pura vida.
Pura vida.